Hello and welcome back to Unpopular People.
We believe that listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success.
Today in our interview, Pepe Villegas.
Pepe is an artist from Miami, Florida.
But he's originally from Puerto Rico.
He studied architecture and has his own company called ARTKTR.
If you want to find out more about Unpopular People, please visit our website www.unpopularpeople.com.
And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter on our website www.unpopularpeople.com.
You can also visit our shop and find some nice clothes that represents our project and our idea of communicating with each other.
And now enjoy this amazing interview with Pepe.
Hi Pepe, now we can start.
Can I make a...
Yeah?
I'm sorry, can I make a correct... It's Pepe.
Pepe.
Not pepper. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hi Pepe.
No, it's always, people say it different ways, but it's okay. But it's Pepe, like Pepe.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay. Pepe. Hi Pepe. How are you? Good to have you.
How are you guys?
Good, yeah.
No, thank you guys for having me.
Good to have you on the show. It's been a while since we met in 2015, and we were very pleased to have you on the show now and to hear your story. We are very curious about you and about your life. So we always start our interview with the same questions to our guests, and it is, where were you born and how did you grow up? Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. My name is Pepe Villegas, and I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, born and raised. And then I will say I grew up in New York City. I moved to New York City as a transfer to finish my studies in architecture. And basically my journey has been, I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. So that's my life. Basically, I had to go through all this journey to find my treasure, which is my art. Since I was a little kid, coming from a family of engineers, I always had the inclination of drawing, but never really, it was something I did for fun. Never in my life imagined that that's what I will do. I will have fun doing what I love to do as a job. And it has to do a lot with my upbringing in Puerto Rico. So, and right now I live in Miami, Florida. Because I'm also working as a signed artist for a big company here in the States, but I'm pretty much I'm a Puerto Rican guy.
Who gave this book to you? So why The Alchemist?
This book kind of happened. I think I was once. I'm a selective reader. I like reading. But it's also like my art, it's what inspires me for circumstances. I believe someone recommended the book, and I have a connection. I have like a spiritual connection with Brazil. One of my best friends is from Rio, and then Paulo Coelho is Brazilian. So my curiosity was because the concept of the book was about understanding that everything you need, you have it right in front of you. But you have to go through a journey to uncover and really be able to see what you're looking for. Honestly, I was raised Catholic. I was raised, in a God-fearing environment. And my dad was like God to me. So that was the kind of like the image I have of Bible and all that. But I never really related to it because it never affected me in a personal level. And I think The Alchemist was so personal. It was an experience. And that's it has been a book that has inspired some of my art. And it's a book that I gift to people. And it's a book that I have it. I have it right here. So it's like my little Bible.
Yeah, and it's so interesting what you're just saying, and I don't want to like draw a connection like straight away in the beginning of the conversation, but like the book The Alchemist has a big meaning in my life as well, actually, and also the spiritual connection to Brazil is also present for me. So it's very interesting. So thank you for that. But I also wanted to know, you said that you became an artist, had a lot to do with your upbringing in Puerto Rico. So what was your upbringing like? Like why do you draw the connection there?
You know what? It's like since I was a little kid, since I remember, I've always had. I'm very curious. So you know, in the Catholic, you know, community, you don't question things. Everything is about this, you know, like the faith and all that, but for me, it was always like I always wanted to know more. I wanted to, you know, it's like why this is like this. So coming from a family of engineers are very right brain. They're very analytical, numbers, and I'm the opposite. I'm like left brain, like I'm always, you know, in another planet. It kind of like helped me to little by little concentrate and nurture more my art, especially being brought in a patriarch, you know, like with a father that he was very successful. By the way, my dad passed away recently, but he was very brilliant in in what he loved to do. So I identify myself because I'm like, I know what I want to, I know what I love to do. I just have to figure out how am I gonna be as successful as my dad. I always look at that. So the influence for me was understanding that, for example, it's like, okay, so if there are engineers and I'm an artist, so then I'll be an architect. So that's what I did. You know, I went to school. The education was priceless. But at the same time, when I started working, you know, after graduation, I started realizing that's not what I want, because every time I would go for lunch, I didn't want to come back because I wanted to be outside. So, you know, it took a little time, but there was, like The Alchemist, there were signs and opportunities that I just say yes and kept going that way, trusting that that what I love is what I have to follow.
Yeah. Sorry to hear this about your dad, but it sounds that he was a really big inspiration for you. That's amazing. And also that you found your own way to bring out your passion. And why did you choose to go to New York then?
You know what? I don't remember exactly, but I know that since I was a little kid, I always fantasized to be an artist with a studio in New York City. And I never knew that was going to happen. So when I moved to New York, I went to Pratt Institute. I was in an environment of people from fashion, people, illustrators. It was a very, very vibrant and very cool environment to be. So that's when I started falling in love with New York. I love New York.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you tell us a little bit about the school? Because for us, it's not a name we don't.
Oh, okay.
We're not familiar with with the school.
So yeah, I went to Pratt Institute. Is one of the most prestigious art schools in the States. You know, it's like it's compared to like Rhode Island School of Design. You know, they have a very prestigious staff, like the teachers, and also the programs are amazing. So I got the opportunity, and it's the Pratt is located in Brooklyn. It's not in New York City. Sometimes people don't understand that. So for me was you know, it was the education, but it was for me to experience by myself such a city filled with so much. And by the way, at the same time, it was for me the freedom of being myself in New York City, you know, because I'm a gay man. So I found like my alternative families, my, you know, like my dear friends that I still, you know, are friends with. You know, going to Pratt was prestigious, but it really opened my mind and inspired me to be, you know, to little by little, you know, give myself completely to my artistry. So in New York, after I graduated, I was working in a big company in New York City, IMPay. I don't know if you're familiar with IMPay. That was my first job. IMPay is the Chinese architect. He passed away recently, but he was well known for his like modern style and the pyramid in the Louvre, of course. Anyways, I moved to Miami so I can work in a smaller office, like a more residential, thinking that will make it more pleasant for me, and it wasn't. But I moved to Miami in 1990, when what was the Renaissance basically in Miami. So I was very vibrant with in the fashion people, designs, people investing. So I had an opportunity to start traveling because I was working in a restaurant, and this photographer was there, Bruce Weber, and they saw me and they called me, and then right there they offered me to do this photo shoot for Vogue. And from that moment on, I decided I'm going to do this. And my main purpose was because I am going to start traveling the world. And that's what happened. I started traveling the world. I started meeting incredible people. Then when I came back to Miami, me and my partner, we moved back to New York. And that's when I found that some of my friends were artists living there. One of them invited me to his studio to do my sketches in large scales. And eventually, him and I shared the studio. I paid like $200. I don't know how much is in your currency, $200 a month. And pretty much I became a self-taught artist. I started painting in oils. That was the start of the journey that I am, has evolved into what I do today.
Yeah, it's such an interesting story. I have two questions about this. What is always interesting for me is after you left Puerto Rico, and I know it's quite a long time ago, but do you still remember like how you felt? Like you were on your own, I guess, or did you go with someone else?
Oh, I have. Yeah. It's a good story. It's a good story.
Okay, yeah, that's the story I want to hear.
Well, first of all, when I left Puerto Rico, my dad knew this very, very good friend of his that worked for Easter Airlines. Easter Airlines is not happening anymore. It was the first time he put me in first class. 3-hour trip, first class. Anyways, I get to New York. The plans was for me to go and stay with a friend because school was starting in like 3 weeks, and I needed to find a dorm, a place that where I'm gonna stay. So my friend told me that his roommate was in Puerto Rico, so I could stay with her for a week. So I arrived JFK with big luggage, big luggage. Got in the train, all by instructions, and then I get off in this train station in downtown Brooklyn. And when I get out of the station, it was the wrong station. And then I keep asking, and I'm carrying two. They were so heavy. Anyways, they asked me to go and take a bus, and in this stop, I go to the bus, I go to the stop, and then I see the number of the house. They live in the 4th floor, walk up with no elevator. So I go up, the door is kind of open. I knock the door, and my friend's sister is there, and she's like, "Oh, Pepe, come in." I walked in, and these people, I know them from high school. She is in the dining table with a razor, shaving half of her head. And I'm all preppy. I'm all conservative. That was my first reaction. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" So, anyways, that's all I needed. In those days, I could have all the dorms in Pratt were booked. There was nowhere to stay. So I was crying because my friend, that was the next day I had to leave the apartment, and I had no idea what I was going to do. So I see an art supply store. So I go into the supply store, and there is this man with a beard with jewels everywhere, very effeminate, very, very effeminate. So he looks at me and he's like, excuse me, can I help you? And I'm like, yes, I need an apartment and I need a job. And he went like this. And then he's like, let me see what I can help you. Come back in like a half hour. He was a landlord. He gave me a job and he gave me an apartment in his one of his buildings. So this is like now as an adult, when I look back, I see how it's kind of like magic. You know, things happen. The thing is, in those times, I didn't know better. So I'm traumatized and crazy. I'm crying. The world is going to end. So that was like, I would say, in my adult life, that was the first time that I remember that I'm like, wow, things really happen. When you kind of like let go of your plan and you're frustrated, it happens. It's just, it's the mystery of life. So that was my introduction to New York. So, but then I connected with my friends. Most of them were in the fashion school. So it took like a week. Cut my hair. I was wearing combat boots. Like everything changed. I was liberated. I was like, fine, I'm home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. So yeah, it was a perfect answer to my first question.
Yeah.
The second question is when did you discover, or when did you start calling yourself an artist?
You know what? It's something that still I have kind of like a dance with it, because I feel like consciously, I will say like in 1995. Or 95, 96, because that's when I was sharing my studio with my friend, and the only other job I had was I was bartending. So I was an artist. But it's something that I like, especially when it's business-wise, because you have to kind of define, are you an artist or you're a designer? Are you this or you're that? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't want to be put in a box, because my art is very fluid. Depending on how you get inspired, it could be a video, it could be painting, it could be photography, it could be a design. So it's like some people call me a multimedia, but my friend Zelda is one of my muses, basically. I call her my brainstorming muse. She says that I am an artist out of necessity. That's how she describes me. Because it's almost like it's my breathing, my water, my oxygen, because it's something I need. It doesn't matter, I get inspired by anything. But it's that outlet. It's that I think the artistry is my outlet. Like someone will do it with poetry, you probably do it very well with music. It's a way that you express or create, or and it's all about what you can create an experience for the other person, or whatever, it's all collaboration. It's a different type of collaboration. Like you guys are collaborating.
Yeah.
We
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to find out more about your company. Tell us a little bit about ARTKTR. How did it start?
Okay, so it was 2011. Yeah, the 10th anniversary of 9/11. My partner back then, let me call him RJ, because he's like my best friend. RJ and I moved to, he wasn't resonated with New York. And I'm always, when you ask me for change, even if I resist, I go for it. So it was a hot summer in New York. I was like, you know what, let's go for it. So we ended up in Key Largo. It was all a connection with a friend of his, and so we got a place, a house, but I did not expect it how it would it was going to affect me as in my creativity, especially coming from New York. So I would say for the first 2 years we lived in Key Largo, and then we moved to downtown Miami. That's when we met, Ben. I was having a withdrawal. I was not finding inspiration. I mean, the keys, especially me coming from Puerto Rico, it's not, it was not an environment that was bringing me something to speak about. And then when I moved to Miami, it was the same. It was like I was a little turned off by the artist culture I was just not resonating. It was like I always look for something more underground, something that has a little bit more of a foundation that is coming from somewhere else, and it wasn't happening. So what I started doing was I started running then, like you. So I started running. I'll have this run that it was like I'll do these loops. It's just to get this energy out. And this idea came to me to pick up. I don't know if you're familiar what a royal poinciana is, the tree.
No.
It's called in Puerto Rico we call it flamboyant. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful tree that has these long pods, and then it gives this beautiful vibrant orange and red colors. But the pods, I started collecting them when I was running, and I collected 100 pods. And then one day I started drilling holes in the pods, like to hang them, make curtains. So I started finding things in the garbage, boxes especially, in my own closet, little gadgets. So I started kind of creating something like repurposing things. In my building, for some reason, there were a lot of women buying shoes, very expensive shoes. So I will find boxes of Dior, Versace, all these and some of the boxes were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boxes. So I guess with my experience as an architect, building models, I'm very good cutting. It's like secondhand to me. So I started repurposing these boxes and then creating, for example, if it's a box of a Chanel box, a beautiful Chanel box, I will create a purse or a clutch from the box using what the branding and all that. I'll probably share a photo of that. So that's where ARTKTR started. It was about the concept of rethinking, reinventing, with an environmental undertone, because it's like, for me, it's like, okay, if I use things that are not politically correct, at least I'll use them to repurpose them because they're already out there instead of creating more garbage. So I got an opportunity with a gallery to show all these creations, and it was all clutches and purses, and they were created from the boxes, and also I will include hardware from kitchen hardware, anything. So it was the opening for me to start working with a different part of my brain that I had no idea, which is about reinventing something, but at the same time making it functional, making it appealing, making it desirable. And at the same time, is something that when you see, you're like, oh, I could probably do this too. So that's the concept. That's where the concept of what I do right now. It's all about user-friendly, green in terms of the materials that are used, and also something that you can do. You can acquire something from ARTKTR, but at the same time, some of them you can reinvent them and make them your own. It's kind of like the Lego concept. There's a little bit of Lego concept, yeah.
So it's right on the spot for these times, actually, with upcycling, with sustainability. So we really like this idea because our clothes are sustainable as well. And this is what I think the environment, and when you look all the things that happen at the moment, this is what the world really needs, like all this reusing things. And how do the people around you react on this? I mean, did you have critical voices as well with doing this? I mean, from the fashion industry, for example, that they don't like it when they see, oh, that's not our saying what we want to present with this luxury brands, for example, that you upcycle them? Or did you get any critical voices as well?
Yeah, you know what? This lockdown, this pandemic, this global pandemic has affected everybody in such different ways. So I can only speak from my experience. It was, for me at the beginning, it was challenging. I was coming from a breakup, being single, finding a new place, relocating, and then the pandemic happened. So I'm a very social person. I like people. So that was the first challenge for me. But at the same time, it was great because then I can start calling people because I don't have to text people all the time. I call people and then we do FaceTime. So I've always been pretty adaptable. I figure it out. Then it took me a while to like start getting a little bit of a discipline in terms of getting into my designs or that, because I was more taking care of an emotional side of me. You know, that it was a time for me. I reflected so much. I spent time by myself like never before. But then little by little, and I think what trigger was having conversations with friends, because sometimes we'll talk about, I have a very, very close, we call it the family in New York. We're like 5 of us. So we had a Zoom talk. And it was, we went around and everybody was talking about how was all this affecting them. And my friend Donna said something that resonated with me so much because, we were talking about how some people are reacting so in denial or aggressively or afraid. And she said, Pep, we left the shore. And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. Because for me, this was, as I was witnessing this was a shift. This still is like a shift of consciousness of the way we behave, the way we treat each other, the way we respect each other. I mean, social distancing for me, it's about that. It's about respect people's space. We're on top of each other. Let people breathe. I mean, so that's when I started like getting, okay, so what wants to come out of me in terms of my creativity? So the first thing was for me, I didn't have to rethink what I do, because what I do is pretty much goes with what's happening right now, because what I'm doing right now is like, we are creating products and designs that are to inspire people. And inspired in terms that you're not going to get something for nothing. You're going to get something because there's a nostalgia to it that reminds you of something playful, or there's something that you can have it and create something out of it. So we can motivate people's creativity, and at the same time we can make you look beautiful and different. So in ARTKTR, has been incredibly reaffirming. Right now, I am involved with the way. Let me explain you a little bit. The way ARTKTR started as a collaborative. When I started this was also because I have friends, very, very close friends, that are very, very, very talented, and they're really good at what they do. That when we collaborate, they do what they do. I don't have to be on top of them, and I can do what I do. So we can, depending on the design or the product or the commission, people come together. It has been the opposite. It has motivated me to create more. Right now, I'm working and collaborating with 2 people, and it's amazing because when we start the conversation, they are thinking the same way, especially fashion. They're like, people want accessible things. People want to look good, but people don't, the luxury concept has to be rethought. You have to rethink that. What is luxury? It's like the same. Why is to be a millionaire? What to be a millionaire means to have money? No, it's all about the basics of being healthy, joyful, happy, and promote empathy. So anyways, going back to the fashion, it's like I've been very following what's going on right now in the fashion industry, especially when it comes like fashion week and fashion shows and all that. And I see the creativity in terms of how they are broadcasting it, but I'm like, oh my God, but it's like you're still, with this exclusivity of things that are just an illusion for most people because they cannot afford it. So I want to give you an illusion, but I want to give you an illusion that you can that you can achieve, you can reach. And I think that's something that I know some people are doing that, but that's where I'm going. I'm not signing up to be a one hit wonder. It's not. That's never been my forte. I don't. I enjoy the process. I think everything is about the process. So
wow, I think Elisa and you have to reconnect after this again and have like a whole conversation about also fashion and stuff, because I think that's like it's really cool, and I'm really it's really great what you do and what you just said and everything. But for me, it's always very inspiring to hear if you have any tools, because you told us already that you have those setbacks, like the first one in New York when everything seems to go down the drain, and you also told us that your dad passed away, unfortunately, and also that you were single, or that you are a single, coming into a pandemic where you have like social distancing and stuff. Do you have any tool to be resilient and come back to being creative again? Like how do you do it? How do you come back to this incredible, intense creativeness inside of you?
okay, yeah. First of all, I'm not single anymore.
Okay.
And but the fascinating thing about this is like through this pandemic, for example, my dad recovered from cancer 10 years ago. I mean, my dad was like a true warrior. It was like a month and a half. I was working up in Fort Lauderdale, and I got a phone call, and it's from Puerto Rico. And they said, listen, you have to come because your dad is really sick, out of nowhere. My dad got sick the day he met his great-grandson, because he hadn't met it yet because of the pandemic. So they finally went there. My dad got sick. He got like a severe pneumonia, and he had a stroke. So I went to Puerto Rico. Then I visited him. After I talked to him, he couldn't talk, but I could tell. I mean, I was like, oh, wow, he's going to beat this again. Because my dad is, and that's where I come from, my dad is very driven, and he loves what he does. So I saw, that's what I saw. I was like, he's going to keep going. Anyways, so I came back to Miami. I was finishing a project, and then they called me back, and they said, you have to come. So I went back to Puerto Rico, and then he was in intensive care. And then he passed away a couple of days after. Through that period, my whole family came together for the first time in I can't even remember. And as you know, as I told you, my parents are very, I come from a very like strong, faithful upbringing. That was the most extraordinary experience I ever had, because in the midst of losing like the rock of my family, we found a place of being together, have joy, cook, mourn, and at the same time, I started talking with someone that I knew for 30 years ago. We were just talking for a long time. And all simultaneously, it's almost like a door closed and another one open, death and life. Like a great-grandson is born. My dad gets sick. It's like all these things. And so what I'm saying is I am not single anymore. I start talking with this friend of mine. And then I realized, oh my God, we have so much in common. And so that has been like, for me, is part of like what I will say is part of like what inspires me. Is I have come to the realization, it's like when people say the artist block, you have an artist block. For me, an artist block is a call for you to step aside, because you're putting too much on you. You're not allowing the other half, which is the inspiration, to like really because you're or too anxious, or you want to get it done or whatever. So I encounter in many ways, not only as an artist, but as in life, you encounter these challenges that, for me, it's like sometimes it takes me a while, but I have learned how to snap out of it. And little by little, because those are the moments when you really, really find, I would say, the magic touch. comes right after, and it's just, I think we always kind of tend to overdo our job. It's like there's like, for example, another thing that just came to my mind is like when the pandemic happened. I have a terrace here, so I start noticing birds that I've never seen before, and by my job in the canal, I start seeing the water clear and schools of fishes. And I was like, oh my God, we have taken over the 50% of nature. They are deserving as much as we are. And they're out because we're out of the way. So, it's like, in my case, it's like my curiosity and, the wonder of the magic of life, because life is magical. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It's magical. Some people call it whatever, but there is something beyond what we, what we can touch and what we can see, that, we breathe it. That is, it's happening without getting religious or anything. But there is a reality. I think this pandemic is being very polarizing in terms of how we see it. We see everything now.
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for people that feel stuck in their thoughts, or that don't have the power to come out when they are really frustrated? And it doesn't have to do with the pandemic. It also can be a breakdown in their life.
Sometimes I think you have to, because I think when you get stuck, you get emotional. And then instead of getting emotional and mental, it's like try to see it more logic. If you're stuck, it's because you're stuck, because you are doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. So I think if you start that conversation with yourself, that I think everybody should start doing it, start talking to yourself. So if you're stuck, then change direction. If you're stuck in a thought, go for a walk, do something, change direction. It happens. Change direction. Call someone. Don't think that you're not going to accomplish whatever it is if you don't have it. You do it right now. There's no rush. So that's my recommendation is, when you're stuck, change direction.
And with creativity, I think it's creativity is, for me, it's a fascinating thing. Like I think all scientists, neuroscientists, still try to figure it out how it actually works in the brain and how it comes together. So I feel like being creative is usually when I see something in my inner eye, or like if I hear something in my inner ear, or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And then you try to put it on in the world. So like when we look at like your projects, or if we look at your art, like you did some sculptures out of cardboard or something like this, yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you see the sculpture before you build it, or would you describe your creativity?
No, sometimes I sketch, but sometimes it's almost, that's one of the taglines of ARTKTR, thinking with the box. You don't think outside of the box. The material will tell you what to, that's another way of looking at it. But it's the material is the one that inspires you. Sorry to interrupt, Ben, I was going to say something. It's like, another thing that helps me to like snap out of when I'm stuck, and it's like it's something I think when you're making music and you're stuck in music, put some percussion.
Yeah,
percussions, do it. And for me, drums, do it. And also it's because where I come from, but it's like there's something familiar. Drums for me, do it. Maybe home cooking will do it. Maybe it's something, but just change direction.
And so when you moved from New York back in the days, you moved down to Miami. Why did you move away from New York down to Miami when your dream was to have like your own studio in New York?
Because in that time I was working as an architect. My partner was Gary. You know what? I'm very strange. All my exes are my family. We're like best friends, and they all know each other. So I'm different in that type. So anyways, his family, he worked in the fur business in the early, that was in the late 80s. and that business was going down because of for many reasons. So that's when we decided to move to Miami, and I found a job in Miami. It was also the weather and everything, but it was like an architectural firm that specialized in a residence. So that's why I moved. But I never knew, because you know what? It's like one thing always leads to the other. You just have to follow the signs.
Mm-hmm. So do you make any plans, or do you have some ideas what will go on with your company and with your creativity and with all the things in the future?
Yeah, sure. So right now I have many plans. I have a few designs under scrutiny right now, because they're in the final stage of design. They'll be soon up to create the prototypes. I'm collaborating right now with my partner's company. It's called House of Alchemy. This is a beautiful, amazing company. It's based on Harlem. They're very much supportive of the Harlem community and the artists there. But it's very similar to what I do. It's a collaborative of artists and designers and fashion designers, interior designers. So in the House of Alchemy, I'm curating the treehouse of the House of Alchemy. So this will be more of it's bringing what I do in art couture, is bringing products that have a concept of a nostalgia, of playfulness, of curiosity. It's very cool, very, very cool. So it's kind of like that's what I'm doing right now. As a matter of fact, today I was having a meeting with them. So I'm keeping myself busy. I think this is a very, very good time to start, rethinking and planning in a very mindful manner, considering the fact that we're not even feeling the after effects of this, because a lot of people lost their jobs, and a lot of people had to close their business. So it's a great time to do something that people can look up to and say, you know what, I lost everything, but look, we can create something with what we have. So I'm hopefully what we do, we will have that effect. And one of my main goals is everything we do right now, I'm concentrated on it to be manufactured, designed by Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, so we can start promoting exporting products from Puerto Rico. So and the idea is to have the headquarters of Art Couture in Old San Juan.
Yeah, so many things, so cool. And I think many people rethink all what they're doing, and it's a good thing, a good moment to start something new. And did you say treehouse?
Yes, like the treehouse. His name is Jeff Grube. He created this company, God, I don't know, like 8 years ago. So the name is House of Alchemy with an I, and it's the same connection. Is the Alchemist. So when I come to the picture, is because he's familiar with what I do. So he wanted me to curate something, and brainstorming with a friend, he was like, a treehouse. That's the title. It's because that's where you go. You go up out of the house, up in the tree, and create your wonderful planet. So that's what we're doing with that.
This suits you so well.
Yeah. Let me show you something. So when I was a kid, I knew I was different. I don't know why. I don't know. It was because I was gay. I don't know, but I was different. But I never wanted to disappoint my dad. Because I was like, if my dad knows who I am, he's not going to love me anymore. So I started climbing this tree next to our house. And that was the tree where I will fantasize. I'll take my National Geographics and that was like a spaceship. Anyways, I did this kind of can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Nice, yeah.
You see, it's like me with the planes, plastic planes I used to do.
Yeah, we
Thank you for showing this.
Yeah, we put this. We have to put this in the show notes for the listeners.
From this,
no, definitely, because that has a lot of meaning to me. And then now that this happened, I'm like, I think like the planet, everything goes in circles, orbits and planets, and everything comes in full circle. A day comes in full circle. A year. So I feel like this is it's almost like cosmic. It takes time, but you have to enjoy the journey and the process. And then when you realize that, oh my God, it's like I'm back in the same place, but I'm more mature. I'm more creative. I can enjoy it without being scared or traumatized or like whatever with the little things in life. And trees have always been very, very important to me. A friend of mine gave me this book. It's called The Baron of the Trees. Baron of the Trees, Italo Calvino is the writer. Check it out. And it's this baron, since he's a little kid, he doesn't want to be around people. He wants to be up the tree so he can see everything from above. So he goes from tree to tree to tree, has his life experience, around the town. So trees have always been very resonating with me.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We also sometimes have the feeling that it's so sad what's happening in the world at the moment with the pandemic, and of course, I mean, for us in our position and your position as well, it's a bit different. And what we see, like for friends from us in Indonesia, for example, that's like a whole different story of how they are affected by the pandemic. But also on the other side, we realize for ourselves that like unpopular people in this format it is now, and what we are doing with it now, it wouldn't be the same if there wouldn't have been the pandemic, because that was also made us like think, we can't rely on any jobs from the outside. We can't rely on going somewhere and just start working in any company, because if things like this happen, and now we see that they can always happen, you can never rely on things from the outside. So you always have to reconsider your plans, and you have to be able to, as you said, like change directions and do something else. So that was a very, very good information, good thought again.
Yeah, and also creating something on your own. I think it's similar for you as it is for us. It's just such a great feeling when okay, you do something and you work for it, and in the end you see a product, or you see that you can bring out your thoughts. And we do it with our podcast, you do it with your art and with all the things you do. How does it feel for you when you start a project, when you have something in your mind and then you bring it to paper or build it, and after this, what feeling do you have when it's out finally?
You know what? When it's out, I'm ready for the next. But no, because honestly, it's like for me, it's all about the process. The final product, and I learned that as a painter. When you paint, it's really hard to tell when you say, okay, I'm done. It's so hard. But for me, it's because what I do right now is all collaboration. When I'm done and the other one is done, and we move on. So it's like we have our time to play. It's like a playground. You play, and then you go to bed or you go eat. So if I had to say something, what is the force or the secret of my success is relationships. Relationships, in my experience, is everything. Especially, when we deal, and especially living in a capitalist country, relationships is everything. Because right now, my company is all my relationships. And it's people that I trust. Yeah, people that I have admired, people that I know what they do. I will say, what? It's like relationships. And then the relationships turn into collaborations, because we don't do anything by ourselves.
So if you, our podcast is called Unpopular People. And What if you would do anything differently, or what would you do differently if you were popular, if you would be known all over the world or all over the states, or like you imagine your own scope? But what would you do differently? But now,
Nothing. Nothing. I don't know. It's like
Why?
Because I'm happy. I'm happy. It's you know what is popularity as we know it. It's something that it's almost like some people look for it, but it has never been something that I'm for. I enjoy my privacy. I enjoy so it's like I'll say I'm popular in my circle of friends, as they are also popular for me. But popularity, as as fame and all that, it's like it's nothing that I don't know if it's for me. I don't know if it's in the future, but it's not something that it won't. I don't think it will change anything about the way I do and how I do things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
That's why we have you on the show.
Yes.
Roots.
And if you would have a school or things you would teach other people that you learned from your life so far, what would it be?
If you could choose the subjects at the school, for example, or if you could teach some lesson that you think is of main importance.
You know what? It's something that I'm creating. I'm creating a curriculum. And the curriculum is called Thinking with the Box. So it's about like how I can share what I do in an academic way. So, and the purpose is to start thinking different when you especially if you want to go into creativity, because in a lot of architecture schools and art school, what they teach is things that have been done. Things that are artists that have done famous things, or styles that are like this, and that. My desire and my passion has always been to create my own thing, the way I think and the way, so the purpose will be, the student will tap into their own genius, into their own flair and creativity. So I would love to do that, because it's almost like, it's like what they say, it's like, when you have a lot, give it away. It's like I would love to give this away, and it will be interesting to see how I can translate that into an academic environment. But I've done that. I've done like little workshops and stuff like that. Especially with kids. But it'll be about the creative process.
Did you come up with the term thinking with the box yourself, or who came up with the term?
Yeah,
that's a really nice saying. I really like this. Yeah. My brain works that way. I come with these lines. That's very cool. Yeah.
And some of my friends are the same. They're very intuitive in terms of words and putting things together. But yeah, for me that describes what I was doing basically. I was thinking with the box.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's we can hear and feel this throughout the whole conversation today. And where can people go to find out more about you? Like, can you let us know, or can you let the listeners know where to find you on Instagram, social media, or websites, etc.?
Sure. Instagram is Pepe Villegas, and my website is ARTKTR.com. Is ARTKTR.com, and then you can find my email there. And very much. And to be honest with you, I have social media. I'm not a big social media. I don't put too much time in it, but definitely if when it's for reaching out, and I think Instagram is a great tool to reach out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll add this to the show notes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We come to an end now. Because everybody...
No.
I think we have to.
We continue this on a private level again. But it has been a really great conversation. It gave us, and hopefully the listeners too, a very interesting insight into your life and into your experience. And it's been great, like so many like good words and wise words. And we're really happy that you took the time to speak to us today. And so we say goodbye from our side. And
we wish you all the best for the future. And we are so curious about what will come up with all your projects in the future. We follow it, and yeah, we thank you so much from our side. And if you want to add something for our listeners, if you want to say something for final words, now is the time for it. Thank you, Pepe.
Oh, you're welcome. No, thank you guys. I love the conversation. Thanks, Ben, for the connection. And now I have another friend in Australia, down under. How cool is that? Hopefully I'll come visit soon as all this stuff ends. But I'm honored for the invitation, and I hope that whatever little I can share could inspire and motivate people to, especially nowadays. Like Ben said, it's like I think this is a call for everybody to bring their whatever they're here for, to bring it, instead of depending on big corporations or what we are used to. We all have something to give, and we have something to evolve into something incredible. So hopefully this is where the path we're all taking together. And love each other.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this very inspiring interview with Pepe.
All the show notes to this episode you will find on our website www.unpopularpeople.com.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.